If China is so good, why are so many Chinese students coming to the United States?
This is my American passport and this is my Chinese passport, so that means I'm both an American and a Chinese citizen. But then you're probably like, Grace, how is that even possible? Because China doesn't actually recognize dual citizenship. And the best way someone has ever described my situation is that it's like having two boyfriends that don't know each other exists.
Our Chinese student spies, Republican Riley Moore from West Virginia, is leading the charge on banning all Chinese international students from coming here for educational purposes. Moore sees the Chinese Communist Party's exploitation of the American visa program meant for studying in the U.S., are saying they are using their students as spying on the U.S.
Every time I talk and meet with an international student, I feel immediately inferior. I'm gonna recreate what every international student sounds like when I talk to them. Yeah, I'm double majoring in quant finance, but I'm also doing pre-med, so I'm also a biology major. But I also love film, so I'm producing a short film. And by the way, I speak 4 languages. Then they look at me with puppy dog eyes, expecting me to reciprocate. They expect me to say equally impressive stuff when I'm just like, yo, I'm a fucking loser compared to you. And my problem with international kids, I want to bully them and hate them. Fucking perfect. Oh wow, you're a genius. Oh wow, you have a blue collar work ethic. Oh wow, you're also really fucking nice. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm gonna deport you. I'm gonna call ICE on you, alright? I'm gonna make sure your visa gets declined because how good you are. And you can't even go band for them because I promise you their family is infinitely richer than yours. The girls always have a Louis bag and Van Cleef on, and they always drive a BMW or Mercedes. Guys are either total hypebeasts or have no drip, but they have no drip with the fucking Rolex on. In my head, I'm just breaking it down like, okay, so you're better dressed than me. You have more money than me. You're smarter than me. Like, you also have a bigger dick. Girls included. Always have such a cool backstory too, like, oh, I'm from Shanghai. Oh yeah, I'm from Tokyo. Yeah, oh, I'm from Milan. Where are you from? Like, dude, I'm from Hacienda Heights. Ever heard of it? Yeah, probably not.
No. Have you, amazing viewer. Thank you for liking the video. This is Comfort for Life. I share a compilation of TikTok and Shahoshi videos for educational purposes. Subscribe if you're new here. Kindly, you're going to love it here. It's another exciting compilation where we're going to look at the experiences of Chinese international students in America, more specifically. With everything surrounding Chinese international students in the US right now, this video is going to be a great compilation that will be a kind of a recap of their journey in the US. We're going to see from accommodation, why did they leave the country to start with? Are they having more opportunities now that they have left the country and being able to study in the US? We're going to look more and broadly into this, and we're also going to look at Americans studying in China. What are the experiences?
What do the apartments of Chinese international students look like? On Xiaohongshu, there's a trend of Chinese students showing their rooms when they first arrived in a foreign country to study abroad, although a few are truly sharing their minimalist decorations. The majority are competing for the most messed up interior design, which netizens called 随时跑路风, literally, runaway anytime core. One student said, I have moved 10 times in the past 6 years. I don't dare to buy any new furnitures. Netizen commented, this setup is very Elon Musk. Runaway core can be very high class, provided that the view outside your window is pretty enough. This student just arrived in England and found the window of their apartment extremely small. Netizen teased, this is more like prison core. One student arrived in Philadelphia, but the mattress they ordered from Amazon was delayed. Sleeping on the carpet for a few days is nothing if you can wake up to such breathtaking views. What if there's nothing to see outside the window? Student in Canada said they just feel like an indoor homeless person. On their first day in Australia, this student bought 8 pieces of foam pads from Kmart and called that a mattress, which is still better than sleeping on cardboards. Netizen said, my back hurts just looking at this picture. To add more color and warmth to your room, get this astronaut galaxy projector. It comes with a remote to adjust the brightness of the stars and color of the nebula. The head can be rotated 360 degrees, so you can project a romantic starry night sky anywhere you want.
Students' best therapy is staying at a hotel alone. Most Chinese students live in dorms with anywhere between 4 to 7 roommates. It can be quite depressing and detrimental to your mental health if you're stuck in a small space with someone you despise.
I chuckled when I saw this video because this reminded me of my freshman year in college when the Chinese international students that lived in my dorm hall would get into fights or arguments with other Chinese international students that were either their roommates or they would get into fights or arguments with their roommates who happened to be American or white. And I think it's really funny because these Chinese international students that lived in my dorm hall would go weeks of living in a hotel and not come back to the dorms. Like weeks. I'm telling you, like at one point I was like, does this person even go to school here? Did they go back to China? That's how long they would not come back to the dorms because of like the relationship that they had with their roommate. And I want to preface this by saying that the Chinese kids that lived in my dorm hall, the Chinese international students that lived in my dorm hall, they all came from money, okay? Their parents were rich. I'm talking about like, you would see Chinese international students at Iowa of all places, driving a Maserati. Who the hell in Iowa is driving Maserati? Nobody, except the Chinese international students. But this girl that I knew my freshman year in college, she got into it with her like white roommate. And I don't remember her name, but they got into it because Rebecca did not know how to clean. She did not know how to do dishes. She didn't know how to do laundry. This girl would buy clothes every week. Every week she would buy new clothes because she did not know how to do laundry and she did not want to do laundry. So she just continuously bought clothes. And I was like, I wish I had that kind of money. I wish. And she would never do dishes and she would never like clean any part of the dorm. By the way, this is like an apartment style dorm, by the way. So she would never do that. She would leave dishes everywhere. She left. It was kind of disgusting. And at some point, her and her white roommate got into it and she just left. Like, I didn't see her for like a good month in the dorm hall. I would see her out and about, like on the street, like when we would go to classes and stuff, but I never saw that girl in my dorm room. And I was like, are you coming back? She's like, eventually. I like living in the hotel for now. And I'm like, you do realize that hotels are like super expensive. It's not cheap. And she's like, yeah, but I like it better. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And Rebecca was like the craziest Chinese girl that I had ever met.
What's your name?
My name is Riot.
Where are you from?
I'm from China.
How long have you been in New York City?
Almost like 3 years.
Why are you here?
Because for study.
How much money do you spend per month living in New York City, including everything?
Per month? I think per month just like almost like 10K. Yeah.
How do you spend it?
Just like for my rent and my clothing.
How much do you spend on your clothing?
It depends on just like my mood.
Your mood.
It depends on what I like. Yeah, sometimes just I spend a lot. Probably like half.
Are all international students well off? That's the stereotype. But is this true?
There are times that a lot of us went homeless.
Also, I need to do another part-time job to afford my essential needs.
Many international students say it's harder to speak about financial struggles due to wealth stigma.
I love the moon too, but I don't need to live on the moon. I love China. I don't need to live in China. In fact, when I look at the moon and realize it's the same moon that people in Chinese are looking at, I'm home. When Chinese immigrants come to the United States, they came for the gold rush, and they named San Francisco Old Gold Mountain. They come here for a new kind of life. When European immigrants come to the United States, they often name the place as where they come from, more nostalgic, like the place I was at, Dublin, or New England, New York. They're more nostalgic, but ironically, it's always the European as the Chinese who was comfortable settling down. It's the European asking Chinese, when are you going back? We are comfortable. You are not.
What's your name?
Hi, my name's Eddie.
Where are you from?
I'm from Hinsdale. It's like 30 minutes out from here.
Most Americans originated from somewhere else, came to the U.S. from somewhere. What's your background? How'd you end up here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'm actually the first person in my family born in the States. My parents came here because my dad, in college, he was smart enough. He won a scholarship to go to college in Cincinnati here. And my mom kind of followed him because, you know, they were about to get married. So my mom was from Beijing. My dad was from some suburban area. I have no idea how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to try to. It was northern China.
How does that background show up in your life today?
It's definitely during the holiday season. My family doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving, but we do celebrate Chinese New Year. It's just different experiences like that. There's definitely integration between Chinese and American culture.
I was in the cafeteria the day before and overheard two mothers, and they were talking about how they wanted to send their children to Singapore or like to Malaysia. And I was like, interesting. So I stopped listening to my music, and then I was trying to hear what they're saying. They're like, schools here are so tough, it's like so competitive. My child is like getting depression. He's only just 10 years old. And the other mom's like, yeah, me too. My child is just doesn't want to go to school anymore. The school here is so competitive. You have to study for 12 hours every single day at least. The other mom was like, you know, you can send your child abroad. Malaysia has this second home thing where you can send your child there. The international schools there are pretty decent price. It's like 10k RMB per year. And then it's all in English. It's like very good quality, blah, blah. And another mom was like, really? That's really nice. I heard you can even like send your child to Singapore as well. Like it's also very nice. And then the other mom's like, yeah, but Singapore upped their bar in order to get green card or citizenship to 20 million. I don't know if it's USD or RMB. That's a lot of money. It doesn't matter if it's 20 million USD or RMB. It's like, wow. And then the mom was like, it's so hard. Like all of the children are studying so hard. It reminded me of his cousin. She's like in middle school. And then she lives in Jiangsu and she's a Chinese citizen. She studies all day. She has so much homework. She's only like 13 years old. She studies 13 hours every day, including school and everything. And she also has to study for like 10 hours like during weekends. And I was just like, wow, that's so crazy. She had to also go to outside classes, which is actually kind of illegal. I'm not supposed to say that. Which is supposed to not be legal because the government banned it. But he was just taking it because in order to get ahead of like, other students, or like not even get ahead, I think it's just to keep up with other students, just to be in the normal level as other students. She hasn't studied that hard. I just see her and like I don't even know like what they're doing. Like the whole time she's only studying. So I think because of this reason, a lot of Chinese parents are sending their children abroad. So if you go to international schools, you would see a lot of Chinese people, and then just understand it's just them trying to escape the competitive race here. I think the reason why it's because there's just so much Chinese people, only so many spots, so many jobs, so many university spots for them to go to.
Most of us came here so we can escape from our parents' control. We have our parents' money to rent an apartment, buy a car, enjoy the free will, right? But it's too hard for us to stay in the US to find a job. So we go back to China and our parents will find jobs for us through their networking.
Why do I go to grad school? I'm at Columbia right now and I'm going to my class later. The first reason is I have no idea what I was going to do after my undergraduate degree. Second reason, I did not like the Bay Area and I always wanted to move to New York. Third, Chinese parents always want you to have an Ivy League degree and also a graduate school degree. To be honest, I am doing something that's completely different from my major. But I love grad school because you don't have to go to those clubs or school events, and I'm just doing my own thing.
Want to hear what it's like to be a Chinese international student in American high school? When I was 16, I left my hometown in China to attend a Catholic high school in Massachusetts all by myself. It was a day school, so by law I had to live with a host family. At first, I was placed with a young American couple. They seemed really nice, but pretty busy. The host mom, who was still going to a community college at the time, would drop me off at school way too early. So early that only the janitors were around. I didn't have a smartphone at the time, so waiting around felt endless. After school, they often couldn't pick me up either, so I joined sports like tennis and volleyball to pass time, and eventually I got used to asking friends or school teachers for a ride back home. It wasn't ideal, but it worked. But the hardest part was the food. Dinner was usually leftovers, and there was rarely enough food for all three of us to take lunch the next day. So I ended up eating cup noodles or a slice of pizza every day in the school cafeteria. As someone who plays sports, it was nowhere near enough food or nutrition. At one point, they even put labels on the leftover containers so I wouldn't accidentally eat their food. I was constantly hungry, but I didn't have much money or transportation to get food. So looking back, they were probably paid by the agency to host me, but it felt like they were cutting corners at my expense. One day, my religion teacher And here's to my Chinese friends. 在美国，天主教高中宗教是必须课，但是它不强求你需要相信这个天主教。So my religion teacher noticed how I was eating only cup noodles for lunch. She asked if I needed help. At first, I thought I was fine. Like, isn't that just the Asian way? Like, let's tolerate and push through. I figured I just had to survive for 2 years and then I'm off to college and they can't control me anymore. But my religion teacher, she wasn't having it. She shared my story with her friends, her colleagues, and her family even. You probably guessed what happened next. Her parents heard the story and decided to adopt me. They weren't part of the hosting program, and neither did they ever host an international student. I'm sure it wasn't the easiest thing to do. Like, think about the logistics. You have to sign up, you have to get approved by the agency, and then you have to figure out a way to get the original host family who was already getting paid by doing it to transfer me to you, but they made it happen. You know, coming from an atheist background, this whole experience got me to think a lot about kindness and faith. Like, are people kind because of their religion or just because that's who they are? To me, it felt like I was getting rescued from a really dark place. They treated me with love and respect, and of course we had our share of arguments, but they genuinely cared for me and vice versa. Even now, years later, we magically reunited on TikTok and Xiaohongshu last week. We're still very close. I'll never forget what they say. It's not about the money. It's about doing the right thing. Oh, and if you're curious about why I left China in the first place, let me know. That's a story of its own, and I love to share it next time. Bye.
As a Chinese international student, I came to the US in 2018, and without knowing any person here in the US, let alone anyone who work in creative or entertainment or the media industry, people would tell me things like, oh, if you want to work in media or marketing in the US, you will just never find a job, you know, as an international student, and the big companies will never sponsor you. Or even though if you found a job, it's less likely to be highly paid. That's why I just want to create something out of my own and started to do my social media platforms and also founded this organization where we can also help people like me, you know, the newcomers and people who are trying to make a name for themselves in America.
Why the Chinese make so much money? You know, for a long time, Chinese are very, very poor and very desperate for money. If you look at Chinese students in America or who open restaurants there, you will see they can work for 10 hours per day and 6 days per week. Hardworking is in our DNA. We believe that money comes from hard working. Someone asked me, where does your money come from? I think if you can work 12 hours per day, 7 days per week, you can earn a lot more in your own country. And actually, you will see most Chinese spend more time in study and work than Americans, Europeans, or Southeast Asian people. This is why the #1 app in the world now is created by Chinese, and its name is called TikTok.
What culture did you grow up in? I grew up in a Chinese-Canadian immigrant family, and here are 3 things I'm grateful for. 1. My work ethic. Like most immigrant parents, mine showed me the value of hard work and education. Growing up, my parents definitely prioritized schooling and held me at very high standards. Even though I didn't always love the push, without it, I wouldn't be where I am today, building my own company from the ground up. 2. My community. Growing up, we moved around constantly. In fact, to 2 new countries where I attended 8 different schools before entering college. Because of this, I've gotten pretty good at making friends quickly and learned to build a community around me to feel a sense of belonging. And now I'm so grateful for all the friendships I've built over the years that have shaped me into the person I am today. 3. Having friends and family from all over the world whom I can visit. This summer, I went to my childhood friend's wedding in Germany, followed by another good friend's wedding in Bali. And this winter, we're planning to visit my parents in Vancouver to go skiing in Whistler before making a trip to Japan. I love being able to travel to cool destinations to see my friends and family. Stitch this video and share your story.
Chinese students make up the largest cohort of international students in the UK by nation. It is estimated that there are about 151,000 studying enrolled in UK universities right now. So which are the top 5 universities in the UK with the most Chinese students enrolled? First, we have University College London, otherwise known as UCL, with 9,840 Chinese students enrolled. Next, in second place, we have the University of Manchester, with a total enrollment of 8,645 Chinese students. In third place, we have the University of Edinburgh, with 6,375 Chinese students currently enrolled this academic year. And in fourth, Imperial College London, with 6,105 Chinese students. And in fifth place, the University of Warwick, with a total of 5,485 Chinese students enrolled. The UK is a very popular destination for further study for Chinese students, and between 2017 and 2022, there was a 41% increase in Chinese students coming to the UK to enroll in further education. Is this figure going to grow? Or are we going to see some changes as the Chinese government has recently announced a new reform to encourage their students to pursue further study within China domestically rather than going overseas? What do you think? Let's see what will happen.
If China is so good, why are so many Chinese students coming to the United States? The United States is great, and we have one of the best university systems in the world. And a big reason behind the strength and growth of America's universities is international students. In America, we are often told the reason Chinese students leave China and come to America is for freedom, democracy, and the chance to live a better life. Chinese students want to come to the United States to receive a good education, gain real-life experience in a foreign country, perfect their English skills, and for many, eventually return home back to China. To be honest, it's no different than my very own path in life. 2 weeks after graduating university, I bought a one-way ticket to Shanghai, and I lived in China for 10 years. I learned a new language, gained valuable life skills, but eventually did return home to America. Instead of turning this into a political debate on which country is better, let's come to a simple conclusion. The US and China are both amazing countries, and I've enjoyed life in each country tremendously.
The reason I was able to get my bachelor's degree from Duke University and now my master's from the London School of Economics this year is not because I was exceptionally smart. Although I did study pretty hard in high school, I did not always get the best grades. I wasn't an amazing test taker or anything like that. However, I saw that a few of the elite universities in the US that I was interested in were opening up campuses in China. And during that time, because there was so much anti-China sentiment, there weren't a lot of applicants to these universities. So when I applied for Duke University's campus in China, I was accepted and even given a merit scholarship. And that's because I went down an unconventional path. I didn't just follow everyone else and apply to the same state university that everyone from my high school was applying to. And for my master's program that I'm going to be starting this year, I was accepted to a double degree program with the London School of Economics and a Chinese university, which is one of the best universities in all of Asia. It's called Fudan University. I could have just been like everyone else and thought, oh, studying in China is not suitable for an American or whatever, which is obviously not true because the United States needs Americans studying everywhere all over the world. And if I had just listened to what everyone else was telling me, I wouldn't be where I am today. At the age of 25, I'm going to have 2 bachelor's degrees and 2 master's degrees from 3 of the most elite universities in the entire world. So when you see an opportunity like that just laying on the table and everyone's just walking past it and ignoring it, you have to be the one to take it. This is my American passport and this is my Chinese passport, so that means I'm both an American and a Chinese citizen. But then you're probably like, Grace, how is that even possible? Because China doesn't actually recognize dual citizenship. And the best way someone has ever described my situation is that it's like having 2 boyfriends that don't know each other exists. But to elaborate on my citizenship drama, I am an American citizen because I was born and raised in the US, so birthright citizenship. And then I am a Chinese citizen, which I guess this is not technically a Chinese passport. This is what is called a travel document, which growing up I didn't really know what the heck this was. I just knew that basically if you're an American born Chinese or if you're a Chinese person abroad, if you want to go back to the motherland, the Chinese embassy issues you a travel document instead of an actual like visa. And I just assumed that they were like the same thing or at least similar because I used this to get into China, not an actual visa. I didn't really know what this was until this year when I learned that if you are a carrier of this travel document, you are by Chinese nationality law a Chinese citizen. If you're you're an ABC that wants to study abroad in China, do not make the same mistake I made. How did I find out about this? Well, I was actually trying to study abroad in China this semester as an exchange student, and the program that I was doing was only for foreign exchange students. And I was like, well, I'm an American citizen, so obviously I'm a foreign exchange student. But then when I went to try to get my student visa at the Chinese embassy, they told me I could not get a student visa because I'm a Chinese citizen, so I don't need a visa. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I am born and raised in America. And they're like, well, you hold this document, which is a travel document, and by Chinese law, if you're a holder of this document, you are a Chinese citizen, so you cannot actually get a visa to enter China. And I was like, okay, what do I do? Because I was literally scheduled to study abroad as a foreign exchange student, but I found out like a month before the school year actually started that I couldn't actually go to China to study because I had this. I was desperate, so I was trying to find all ways to figure out how I could potentially still get that student visa, and they're like, well, you need to revoke your Chinese citizenship, which by the way, I never even knew I had. Again, I was born American citizen, and I just didn't think that this would make me a Chinese citizen because China doesn't allow dual citizenship. So basically, America recognizes you as an American citizen because of this, and then China recognizes you as a Chinese citizen because of this, but then they just mutually pretend that each other don't exist. So if you want to study abroad in China, but you hold this document, make sure your exchange program accepts more than just foreign exchange students. They accept Chinese citizens too, because you are technically a Chinese citizen with this document.
Do you know the difference between Chinese university and American university? Give me just 1 minute. Let me show you.
When I first came to the United States as a student, my favorite American food was orange chicken. Because my English wasn't great, I was very afraid of going to an American restaurant because they ask too many questions. Like they ask you what kind of toppings you like or what kind of cheese you like. I mean, to this day, I'm still confused about a lot of cheese. When I was in China, I didn't learn any of these on the English textbook. And as I made more American friends, they brought me over to different kinds of restaurants and I got more comfortable ordering food. But yeah, in the first 4 weeks, I had orange chicken almost every single day because it was easy to order.
Americans are friendly, but they don't really want to be friends with me. 3 insights. 1. They may not be looking for new friends because they can't invest time in you after getting overwhelmed with their priorities. Work, study, family, old friends, gym. 2. They're friendly out of courtesy, and most of them are genuinely kind, helpful, and caring. Not because they're fake. You misunderstood their good manners as they wanted to be your friends. 3. Try not to generalize all of them Americans. I met many different Americans who treated me like their dear friends from day one. 3 actions. 1. Take the initiative. Come up with fun plans. It will be hard to say no to a fun event with a person with great energy if they do have time. 2. Tell them straightforward, I want to make new friends. If they do not respond positively, you know they're not up for it. Finally, find events where people go to make new friends or make friends with people who are new in town and need friends.